Love, light, and blessings. This is Shamanic Awak Priestess here. And first and foremost, thank you so much for those of you that subscribe to my channel, those of you that watch my videos, that comment, and all the things. Like, I appreciate you guys more than you know, especially because, you know, when you guys comment on my videos and stuff like that, it just encourages me to continue to make content, knowing that you guys are watching and supporting. Okay, with that being said, I would like to make a disclaimer and give a trigger warning. Okay, so if you are someone who is not in a good mental state to listen to a video about ED, Anna, binge disorder, or purging, or anything like that, then this is not the video for you. Also, I am a big believer in body neutrality. I'm nervous, so which means that, you know, you should love your body at any size, and someone's individual weight does not indicate good or bad health. Meaning, like, you could be on the smaller scale. You know, you could be someone who is within their BMI, so they're perfect BMI, but they can have a lot of health issues. You know, you can't judge health by someone's physical appearance. The same can also be said with someone who is classified as obese, may actually be healthier than someone who's within their BMI, right? So you can be healthy at most sizes, okay? With that being said, right, the opposite could be true as well. You could be someone who is within normal BMI, normal BMI, and they're healthy, and then you'll have someone who may be overweight, plus size, whatever, and be unhealthy. So the same thing could be said on both sides, right? Just because someone's overweight, obese, or anything like that doesn't automatically mean they have health issues, right? I know plenty of people that are on the plus size and they are healthy, and I know people that are within the BMI that are healthy and some aren't, right? And same thing with some people that are overweight. Some of them are not healthy and some of them are, right? So you can't, you know, people are not a monolith. So that to be said. And also, I, you know, would never shame anybody. So this is more of a video about myself. And me wanting to, as a spiritualist, right, as a mambo, as someone that people look up to, as someone who, you know, dedicates her whole life to reading tarot and doing a full-time spell work. And, you know, I have a degree in therapy, so, you know, and I used to be a nurse and things like that, right? So as someone who was once a caregiver for the public and now for my children, and as someone who gave people therapy, right? I feel like I owe it to myself and I owe it to my audience to be transparent and honest about my struggles with ED. Before I continue, I do have to pay my bills. So if you like my content and want more exclusive content, please become a member. That's a way to support me. And also, please subscribe and share this video. And lastly, if you want to book a one-on-one reading with me, shamanicawakpriestess.com. The link is in the description box of this video, as is the join button. Now, getting back to the program. So today I'm going to be talking about recovering from ED. Okay. Ever since I was younger, I'm going to say 4th grade, so the age of 9, I was someone who overate. I binged, if you will. My family would call me and this is very rude, but literally, oh, just give it to the garbage disposal, referring to me. I did not struggle with my weight because I was always at that time underweight, to the point where my older sister, who struggled on the other spectrum, she was always, you know, had a hard time losing weight, and she was overweight when she was, you know, younger and everything like that. She would make fun of me and pretty much skinny shame me at the time. Yes, skinny shaming is a thing. She would bully me for being underweight. Um, fast forward, I was married when I got married, right? I was 121 pounds, so I was normal BMI, I was on the slimmer side. In high school, I was a size 0. The biggest size I ever got in high school was maybe a size 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. And long story short, when I got married, before I had any children, I was 121 pounds. So that was the biggest I was, because I was, 90 pounds, 99 pounds in high school, 110, 115. In my adult age, well, if you want to say adult, because I was 19 when I got married, in my later teen age, really, I was 121 pounds. And I was 121 pounds like after I got pregnant. Okay, so I was about 3 months pregnant. I was only 121 pounds. I had gained like 5 or 6 pounds. So I was 115 prior to pregnancy. Okay, 115 at the time of marriage. Okay, so I was always a smaller person who was able to just eat whatever she wanted to eat. So I never learned about how to eat in moderation. To me, being able to eat like that was like a good thing. It was a sign like we're doing well, because growing up, I grew up with a single mom, and we were very poor. A lot of people say they were poor. No, we were poor. We also struggled with some parts of my childhood where we were unhoused, living through the shelter system. Going from that to living, in the inner city projects and income-based housing and that type of stuff. Okay, so, I was raised in the South Bronx. Eventually we moved to Staten Island, but I was older already. But most of my life, we were in the South Bronx. Think Hunts Point, Southern Boulevard, that type of thing. So basically, there were times that we just didn't have anything to eat. So we would eat breakfast at school, lunch at school. I used to go to after school programs, so sometimes I'll eat dinner at school because my mom works, so I was a latchkey kid, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And there was times there was just nothing, like on the weekends there was nothing to eat sometimes, at that the first 2 weeks is wonderful, and then the second 2 weeks was terrible. Even though my mom worked hard, we lived on food stamps, we just did. They call it now SNAP, okay? So whenever, I got able to eat, I was just eating without thinking because I was so happy there was food. I remember going through the cupboards and they were empty. So, I lived in the food deserts, right? There was no accessibility to like fruits. I grew up on, they call it color water, you know what I'm saying? Quarter waters and stuff like that, I grew up with quarter waters, basically not even juice. It's just some dyed up, chemicals, Kool-Aid, things like that, whatever. So, that's how I grew up, color soda, grape soda, orange soda, that was my drinks, and stuff like that. So whenever I got to eat, I was like happy, okay? When I got over fast forward, I had my first daughter. I had, become mid-size, and eventually lost all the weight. I want to say it took me about 6 or 7 months, lost all the pregnancy weight. Everybody was like, oh my goodness, you had a baby, you bounced back, woohoo. When I had my son, I was like a good 121, 130, smaller. And, after the second pregnancy, it wasn't the same thing. It was the first time that I wore clothes in the double digits. I was wearing a size 10, a size 12. And, I've never did that before. So, I struggled with how I felt about myself. And that's when I went into the other side of eating disorder. So I went from binging to restrictive eating. So I was suffering from Anna. I lost the weight and then some, right? I looked sickly. And, I just wasn't eating. It became an obsession, weighing myself all the time, because I noticed my husband at the time was not attracted to me, and he would make certain jokes and all these things. Even though he was not even small himself, because he had, with the marriage and with my first pregnancy, gained weight. he would make jokes all the time. Oh, your body got ruined after we had the second child, because I had, stretch marks and whatever the case may be. My son was like my biggest belly to date. I had a big belly with him. I ended up, what I thought was recovering from Anna. And I went straight into binge and purge, okay? I ended up, struggling with being overweight. By the time I got pregnant with my third child, I had heard a word that I never heard before at that time. So I already had 2 kids at the age of 22. I got pregnant with my son when I was 20. I had him when I was 26, so I got pregnant with him at 25. After like 3 years of, I would get smaller, then I would get bigger, then I would get smaller, then I would get bigger, right? I was never able to get down to, after I recovered from Anna, I stood at a good size 8'10". And I still had so much, image problems, and I just felt bad about myself, right? Because I didn't have the same, and having a husband who's making fun of me for having the body that a woman has when she has a child, right? Very abusive person. And, I went into restrictive eating, but because I didn't fit that like extremely underweight thing, like the doctors didn't really see a problem with it. It got to the point where I started to go from restrictive eating to I relapsed and got back into a binge disorder. And for the first time, after so many years of struggling, by the time I got pregnant with my son, they had categorized my pregnancy as high risk. And they used a term, like I said, that I never heard of before. And they said, you're obese. Obese, I think that's how you say it. I keep saying beast. I don't know. English is not my first language. Obese, which is a medical term. Okay, so they were saying like, your BMI, you're old, you're overweight, you're plus size, whatever. And I remember being really sad because I have always most of that at that time been within normal weight range. I got a little bit overweight, but I never had a medical term. I didn't understand what it meant. I found it insulting because, I just never heard of that word before. And I had this doctor who was very fat phobic. She was like, oh, blah, 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 telling me like all this mean stuff and, just saying really derogatory stuff, because there's a way you say things in a way like maybe you should just stop eating. And when I would do my blood work was always healthy. So, and like, that's what I'm saying, like you can be bigger and still be healthy, right? And so, she's like, you're healthier than me, blah, 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 But, she just kept on and on and on. I noticed like when I was my biggest, like, all intimacy ceased in my marriage. Okay. It got to the point where we were sleeping in separate quarters, and he would just make fun of me, walk ahead of me. Like you could tell he was ashamed. Me trying to save my marriage at that time, not realizing this is an abusive person, because, then he became physical later on too. But before then, it was more verbal, mental, right? Financial abuse. And basically, I was really depressed. I felt isolated. I didn't know who to talk to. My mom, unintentionally, because she wasn't used to me being bigger, would make very, like, not the nicest jokes about it. And my family, because I've always been like the petite one, right? The body girl, like, oh, she always had a body, Before I was gaining weight, like I had all this attention. Oh, she has the body, right? Very fetishy. Before the BBLs, I have a natural BBL. So that was always something that I got a lot of attention for growing up, even when I was like 9, which is like ill. But I went from that to being invisible, dressing like I'm older and stuff like that. I went into a straight up relapse of Anna to the point where I lost an excessive amount of weight in a short period of time. Like I went from dieting and doing Atkins and that kind of stuff, carb restriction, to once, like in the matter of 2 months, I lost close to, I'm going to say 65 pounds in 2 months. That's not healthy, guys. Everybody was like, you look great. Nobody thought it was something wrong with it. I was weighing myself. I even restricted liquids like water and things like that because I got so addicted to what that looked like. I was like, yes, I went from a size 16 to a size 6. I'm doing it, and stuff like that. What made me realize I had a problem, because I had kept the weight off for 2 years, to the point that the gym that I belong to, which I'm not going to say their name anymore right now, they had me on the Hall of Fame on their wall. Like they had the before and after pictures, and look at what she did through our exercise, not knowing that I was just not eating, and I was addicted to working out, and I was going on vacations and wearing two-piece. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you had 3 kids, and I just thought I was great, and it wasn't until one day I passed out, and I just was having, my heart was beating really fast. My husband at the time took me to the hospital. I didn't want him in the room because, when I had lost weight, he was so happy, but I didn't want him in the room. I was afraid what the doctor was going to tell me. And I told him to go back home to the kids because I didn't really want them to be alone. And basically, the doctor told me that I was at risk for a heart attack. My heart rate was very accelerated. I got hospitalized. And when I say I passed out, I lost consciousness. Okay, I don't remember how long I was out. I just remember gaining consciousness and seeing my kids crying over me. And I had, for the first time, even when I was overweight, I didn't have health issues. I had high blood pressure. And things of that nature. So it was just oh my God, I was on blood pressure medication. It just was mind boggling. I remember finally separating from my husband, and within 2 months of when I separated with him, I kind of listened to that, and I started eating, but then I gained some of the weight back. So I went right back to Anna, to the point where I caused myself a heart attack. Yes, Shamanic had a heart attack. And she was the smallest she had been since having her first kid. So I went down to 121. And because I wasn't 90 pounds, or you know what I mean? I wasn't what they would look at as someone with Anna, right? I was slim, but not severely underweight. There's 2 different types of Anna, and you can look this up. Okay, there's the one that we know as somebody who's very small and skeletal, emaciated looking, and then there's atypical Anna. I have atypical, which is someone who loses excessive amount of weight, gets obsessed with restrictive eating, but may not necessarily fit the body weight of what they used to priorly diagnose it. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, moving on. So I got to the point where I had a heart attack. I remember having the heart monitor. I got to go home with a heart monitor. It was what they call a walking heart attack. So no surgery, nothing like that, thank goodness. But that scared me. I finally went into therapy, and I stopped with the Anna. I was good. I was in recovery. I gained the weight that I had lost, and then some. I got to, my biggest weight, 215 at the time. I went, size 18 pants, those types of things. So I learned to embrace my body. I had really good friends, and we would go dancing, and we were just these 2 plus size diva. I realized that there are men that are into bigger women. So I was feeling good about myself, and everything like that, right? I had accepted that, hey, I'm plus size. I'm not going to be the size that I was in high school or prior to when I had children, right? So, and I was healthy at the time. Once I, stopped with the restrictive eating, my heart was good. I was low risk for heart attack. Blood pressure medication came out, all the good things. I had started dating. Within that dating process, my ex or whatever, we got into a relationship, and my youngest daughter was conceived, right? And I remember, The doctor was like, you're high risk, whatever, whatever. So when you are plus size, they tell you to gain anywhere from like 10, maybe 15, not the full 20 or 30. Your weight gain with pregnancy depends. They said I was at high risk because I was, obese. So I was like, okay. So I had gained the 15 pounds. So I went up to like 230 after having the baby. I lost about 20 pounds just from breastfeeding. And I kind of didn't care. Like, I was like, you know what? For the first time, every time I have a child, I start going into restrictive eating, blah, 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 blah. I did it with my third child, second child, first child, up and down, weight, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? So I said, I don't want to do that this time, okay? I had issues with the baby's father, my ex, fiance and all that, with infidelity. And I was raised never to share your feelings or whatever. So I kept a lot of stuff in then. I had stopped therapy. I went right back into a full-blown ED. This time, losing a mass amount of weight. I believe in a matter of 2 months again, I had lost like 80 pounds, guys. Just losing all this weight. Going into a depression and, just dealing with a very abusive person as well. They were more mentally abusive and unfaithful and you know what I mean? And during this time when I had my daughter, I was doing readings for other people and everybody was like, you look so great, when I had lost the baby weight and everything. I noticed that, people were more attractive. Like, I was still making money when I was bigger, but I noticed people really like my aesthetic. I got a lot of compliments about my physical appearance and things of that nature. And I managed, to keep the weight off a year. Then when I started eating again, about 2 years, when I moved to where I'm living now in this part of Pennsylvania, I started to go from, I was afraid of how sick I was becoming, how restrictive, and I was like, oh my goodness, I relapsed to restrictive eating, I relapsed with restrictive eating again, and I went back into overeating, binging. I stopped the purging, and for years, as you know on this channel, I have really, I said a couple of times, I said one prior time on this channel, I'm going to go on a weight loss journey, and I couldn't do it. I was just, couldn't stop the binging. COVID was the worst, and I got to the biggest that I've ever been, which is 248, okay, and I just accepted it. I was like, as long as I'm healthy, I'm not going to care, and I really believe in body neutrality, right? But, and not everybody who is overweight or bigger necessarily overeats or has eating disorders. Some people it's genetic and stuff like that. So I'm not coming for anybody. I'm talking about myself. Mine is not genetic. I've been tested for everything. It wasn't until recently, the last 2 years, I've been the sickest that I've ever been. It got to the point where, I was diagnosed with 2 different autoimmune disorders. One of them is one of the worst ones you could have, when I was talking about that. And then I got another diagnosis. They know that more in the memberships. I don't really want to talk about it, but I beat it and I'm in remission. You know what? I am going to talk about it. I also developed cancer. And it was a 2-year battle with that. And the 2 autoimmune disorders. It got to the point where my body wasn't used to my weight. And I'm going through the treatment and making videos on this channel, and I was losing my ability to walk. And I remember going to rehab and I'm like, why? And I would always see obesity in my chart. Nobody ever explained to me that for some people obesity can like affect mobility, right? nobody ever treated it like a medical thing. It was always fatphobic and mean language and putting people down and making it seem like I didn't have willpower and just, mean to the point where anything I would have, I have been medically gaslighted. Everything is not related to weight. But this particular mobility issue was when I started doing research on my own. When I was finally in remission for cancer, I started doing research to some of the autoimmune disorders that I have, to the mobility issues, because I had to start getting rehab and injections on my foot because it got to the point I couldn't even bear the weight on my foot. I was starting to develop knee pains and having to get shots in my knees and breathing problems. And I just didn't know what to do because I'm like, if I diet, I don't want to go Anna, because I promised myself that I would never put myself in a place where I'll get a heart attack. And I want to be a role model to my kids and to my members and to my subscribers. I've never been taught how to actually eat properly. Food has always been all kinds of emotions, sadness, happiness. When you have an eating disorder, food is like an obsession. People think that, if you're bigger or if someone's, Anna, and they're like really small, they'll tell somebody who's in a restrictive eating ED, just eat more. Someone who's binge eating, just eat less. Like, what's the big deal? But they don't understand that there's a mental component in it. It's not that easy, because if it was, there wouldn't be people that unalive themselves because of the torment. I finally talked to my spirits, and they pretty much told me, get help. And in March of 2024, I finally got help. I am working with a program at a weight loss center. I didn't want to do the surgery. I had too many medical issues, so I'm not a good candidate for that. I'm working with a therapist outside of the weight loss center, a behaviorist that is in the weight loss center, a dietitian, and a doctor. And for the first time, the weight loss that I'm having wasn't from binging or purging, wasn't from not eating. This is the first time since I struggled at the age of 21, I'm 45, is the first time. So we're talking about 24 years of struggles with my weight, up and down, that I did it in a healthy way. Like, I am proud to say that I have lost 20 pounds. And for me, it's not about aesthetics, because I'm beautiful, whether I'm plus size or smaller. This is me trying to live my life, because it wasn't until I went to my first doctor's appointment and she diagnosed me with severe obesity, morbid obesity. And I actually looked it up and didn't know that can actually take 14 years off your life. That my weight was making and prolonging my autoimmune disorders, affecting my mobility and other things I don't even want to talk about. I want to take my life back. And I know I'm not the only person out there who struggles with weight, who struggles with ED. I'm here to tell you that I see you and I hear you, and that there's help out there For those of you that are experiencing EDs, there is help out there for you. This is why I wanted to make a separate channel, because I was afraid of making this video and people thinking I'm fat phobic. I am not fat phobic. You could be healthy at multiple different sizes, but whenever your weight, whether you're extremely underweight or, whatever, or even mid-size or whatever you are, if your weight is affecting your health, if you are like me that's struggling with an eating disorder to the point where food becomes an obsession, where you're hiding food, where you're not being honest about what you really eat, where when you eat, like you eat a fake meal and then you're eating like a real meal when no one's watching because it makes you feel bad, there's help. There's help out there. Don't be ashamed asking for help. I'm trying hard not to. So that's what I wanted to say. So on this channel, I will share my health journey and see where it goes. And I'm going to be real honest and transparent. There has been struggles. I started this, last month. There has been struggles. I've had my bad days. And I'm not on any type of diet. Like literally, I'm just eating in moderation. I've cut down like a lot of my snacking. I'm doing a lot of journaling. I go to a support group. I'm doing what I need to do, and what I love about the weight loss center that I'm a part of is that I get to call whenever I'm having a bad day, and I've had a bad day recently on my birthday, and I've had bad days, but I've had more good days than I've had bad days. And that's the thing about a lifestyle change. Like, you're gonna fall, you're gonna relapse, you're not gonna be perfect. But I'm telling you, if you're looking for weight loss surgery, if you're looking, if it's for health or whatever the case may be, like, I'm here for you. What I'm not gonna do on these videos is promote any type of EDs or crash dieting or anything like that. I'm literally eating regular rice and beans and meat and all that. So it's not about that. It's really just eating what a serving size is, portion control, walking. I haven't even started like a real exercise because I'm trying to slowly do things. I've been doing more restorative yoga, healing stuff, meditations. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I love you guys so much. And if I offended anybody in this video, I apologize. This is only talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. Plus size is beautiful. Medium size is beautiful. You are beautiful at any size. This is about me wanting to deal with my eating. I no longer want to restrictive eat. I no longer want to overeat. I don't want to do any of that. This is more of a video sharing with you my journey and my life. Much love, much light, and much blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. And until the next video, I love you guys. Te amo mucho. I love you very much. Thank you. Gracias.